biggest issue that people have been looking at, or there's two big issues that people have been talking a lot about, that we're hearing a lot about. One is the budget, which I'll certainly get into, and the other is the MBTA zoning. So those are two things that are going to be going to town meeting this year on May 6th. I'll start with the zoning because it's what we've been working on most frequently in the last week or two. The town actually has 4 zoning articles that are going to be proposed to voters at the town meeting on May 6th. One is related to car dealerships and where they could locate and provide some additional conditions that they need to meet. Another is to create a new zoning overlay on the Powder Mill corridor, which is the street down here, Route 62, to inspire the type of growth and uses that we want to see there. Another is the South Acton Village zoning, which is an overlay meant to improve the way things look in South Acton Village, and that was actually developed in concert with the MBTA zoning overlay, which many of you have heard. If you read the Boston Globe, there's a lot of coverage about the MBTA zoning. It's basically a mandate from the state that says, if you have a train station in your town, or if you live in a town that's adjacent to a train station, you need to create zoning overlays that allow for housing production. That's the easiest way to describe it. And then there's different requirements that each community, depending on how big it is, and various other factors, has to follow. And they also said, if you don't comply with this new mandate, we're going to take away the grants that we give you. For some communities, that may not be a big deal. Some communities are too busy or don't need to get grants. This community, Acton, is very actively engaged in getting grants. We get, on average, $2 million a year in grants from the state, and we're always asking and seeking more, and it's something that, given the limited resources that we have as an organization, being able to supplement our capital needs and our program needs with grant funding has made us accomplish significant things that we wouldn't be able to do. Just last week, we opened the bridge. You know the bridge at Narrow Park that goes over the pond? That was falling apart, and we've been trying to get funding for it. Through a state partnership, we were able to get funding, get that done. And then, the River Street Dam, look at all the rain we've had this year. It's raining again today. If that dam was still up, I think we'd have some issues this year because of the rain that we had. Fortunately, through a partnership with the state, we were able to get more than, I think it was in total, if you look at the design money and the construction money, it was closer to $1.6 million that we received from the state to take that dam down, which was a huge, vital need that the community had that we weren't able to meet, well, that it made it easier to meet without having to use entirely taxpayer funds. So those are just two examples that you probably are familiar with of grants that we use every year to make things happen in town. Some people have said, oh, we don't need grants, they're just for the big developers. That's not true. The grants that we get are for us. We developed a climate action plan with the grant, and we help build sidewalks with grants, all things that people want, things that people ask us for, the grants help us get. So that's non-compliance, and that's the risk of non-compliance. There's a community called Milton, which is just outside of Boston. They passed the zoning bylaw, and then they changed, then they defeated it. And the Attorney General's office is actually suing the town of Milton. That's not a position that a community wants to be in my opinion. I certainly don't want to be. Never mind losing grants, now we're having to defend a lawsuit against the state. That's a pretty big step that was taken by the Attorney General, but it also signaled how serious that they are about this mandate. So I'm proud of the work that our community did to develop an MBTA zoning overlay. Our planning staff is excellent. The volunteer working group and all the people that went to sessions, I'm sure there were some here, I know there were some here, sessions where people put sticky notes on boards and said, I like this, I don't like that, and they had several iterations and iterations and iterations of the planning process to get to a point where even last week, they were still refining it, and now it's in a place that I think is very good. I'm proud of the work that they did. The select board voted to recommend it to town meeting. The planning board voted to recommend it to town meeting, and you all have a chance to decide on May 6th what you think about it. So that's the MBTA zoning.